All right, let's call to order Whatcom Transportation Authority Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, November 7th, 2024. Vicky, can we start with roll call, please?
Yes. Do we have Board Member Donovan? Okay, I believe he's absent. Hawkinson?
Here.
Fortice?
Here.
Lautenbach?
Here.
Lillyquist?
Here.
Lund?
Here.
Sadhu? I do believe we have executive.
He's here. Yeah.
Stewart?
Here.
Williams?
Here.
And Darwin.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, item C, public hearings. We're going to start with a public hearing on 2025 service changes. Tim, you're kicking this off?
Yes, I am. Good morning, board members. This is the public hearing for the proposed 2025 service changes. Just as an introduction, staff provided a detailed presentation to the board last month. So this will simply be an overview of those changes. And I'll try to recap some of the major points of those changes. First off, we had an extensive service planning process, began about 18 months ago. The highlights of that work have been the community feedback engagement effort. Spent a lot of time working with the community, meeting with the community on these proposed changes. And then also our work with our internal service review committee, which assists the planning team on ideas as well as generating solutions. And generally, I think it's safe to say we had a lot of positive comments for the service changes. However, as you probably hear today, there are a few concerns about the changes that were expressed through the public engagement process. And these comments are included in your packet, so if you want to look through the detailed list, they're all highlighted for you. So I want to begin first talking about, or just identifying, we had a variety of service goals. Main thing here was trying to achieve better access to opportunity for social equity purposes. And then also we have some new areas that we are attempting to serve through the service changes. And then we're also addressing some performance issues, particularly on this first change, which is our Route 4. This is the primary service addressing hospital needs. In this particular case, we're proposing to address a variety of issues, the main issue being low performance, very low ridership. We've had this issue for quite some time. So this proposal is to split the route into two components. We have a north component served by Route 18 that would come once an hour. And then we have a south alignment that would serve the hospital twice an hour. And so that's an increase in service to the hospital. This would also add a Sunday service. And just to highlight, one of the issues has been around discontinuing service on Levin Lane through this proposal. Looking at the boarding data, we pick up one person for every 40 trips to the Willows. So it's very low boardings in that particular area. That's about one trip every 2 days or so. We do continue to provide access to the Levin Lane, a bit more of a walk from the Willows to the next closest stop on Squalicum. So there are some stops that will continue to be served there. With these changes, should note that we do not have enough runtime with these changes to serve Levin Lane. So that's one of the primary reasons that we are proposing to discontinue service on Levin Lane. Moving on to the next revision, that's increasing service to our Route 50, which serves the Lummi Nation. We are proposing to realign this route in order to give us enough runtime for that 60 minutes over to Cordata Station. It currently serves Bellingham Station, downtown Bellingham. Again, insufficient runtime for us to get down to the station in that 60-minute window. So that, and that has also generated some disagreement with the community. I think it's been fairly split in terms of people in favor of the new alignment and people that would like to continue to go downtown. Our third revision is to begin additional service to the King Mountain area, which is a fast-growing area in Bellingham. This is a fairly minor change in that we currently provide service on the Route 48. We are realigning the service to serve Kellogg and the New Street Preston Way up to the King Mountain area. So this would give us more direct access to growing areas in the King Mountain area. Our fourth revision is to provide 30-minute service on Eldridge, Holly Street. This would improve service to the Old Town Urban Village, Bellingham Technical College, and Lighthouse Mission. That would be 30-minute service during weekdays. We're also proposing on adding Sunday service to the Route 3. Our fifth revision is to make the waterfront service permanent. So we're currently operating limited service today. This would make that service permanent and more regular through the weekdays and the weekends. And then our sixth revision, the last revision, is to address a number of significant issues that have come up with the Route 75, which serves Blaine and Birch Bay. We discovered a couple months ago that there is a weight limit for the bridge crossing Dakota Creek. We cannot operate our diesel buses. So we've recently put in a long-term detour to go around the bridge. So that's been some change there. But we also have found out that we cannot turn around our new buses at the Birch Bay Village area. And so we're proposing to limit the number of trips that go to Birch Bay so we could limit it to the diesel buses only. With this change, we're also proposing to add a alignment that serves Nature's Path. That's been a long-term request. So we're able to propose that as part of this change as well. And here's a map just showing the before and after. So with that, that's the staff presentation, and we can turn it over for public hearing.
All right. Let's start with anyone online who might want to unmute and speak. Please be brief. You have a maximum of 3 minutes. Rainbow, I see your hand.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm excited about the proposed changes to the hospital route. I work there currently, and right now I cannot take the bus, even though I'd really like to, because of the schedule. So I am wondering if the proposed changes will accommodate the majority of nurses and CNA's schedule, which is a 12-hour shift, starting or ending at 7. And again, at 7 o'clock. That means that for those of us who work there, we need to get there about 6:45 to be able to get from the stop to our actual unit and put away our stuff and get clocked in. When we are done with our shift, which is usually about 7:30, whether it's AM or PM, because we do shift report from 7 to 7:30, we again have to gather up our belongings and head over to the stop, which means we probably, some of us won't get there till like 7:40, 7:45. So I'm wondering if the proposed changes are actually going to accommodate this large group of employees who might want to use that service. I know I would like to, because I don't feel safe driving on the road after working 12 hours.
Thank you. All right, anyone else online? Okay. How about in person? Skip, help me out.
Yes, the first person on the list is Maxine Tretvik. Is she here?
Yeah, I think everything I have to say would be said by someone else, so I'm not going to speak.
Okay, thank you. The next person, I'm having a hard time reading their printed name.
Birgit wrote up.
Beg pardon?
Birgit.
Okay, is that you? Okay.
I'm reading on behalf of Beardit.
Okay,
To the WTA board, first, I would like to thank you for the great transportation system we have here in Bellingham. I've been riding the bus since 2008 when I moved to Bellingham. I learned to navigate the system by taking all of the smart trips that was offered. In 2015, I was no longer able to drive because of poor eyesight. I was then eligible for paratransit. Using the two systems, it was no hardship to give up my car. In 2019, I looked for a retirement community and I chose the Willows. One of the determining factors was easy access to public transportation. Only the Willows has a bus stop right outside the door and with a bench to sit on. I'm 89 years old and legally blind, and I'm still riding the bus for short errands in town or to ferry them. I hope we can continue to have a bus stop at the Willows. Having the bus so accessible encourages residents to give up driving. I ask you make it possible to keep the current accessibility for the Willows residents and staff.
okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next is Brenda Brooks.
I'm here. Where do you stand? Not at the table. In the front of the table? No. Can I hold on to a chair?
Oh, sure.
Ellie, can you hear speakers okay?
It's a little hard, but I'm getting the gist of it.
Yeah, if you want to.
Be careful not to.
I was going to say, if you want to stay seated, we can just, this is a microphone.
Oh,
So that
okay.
way they can hear you.
Ooh, you're good at solving problems. That's a good sign. Okay. Oh, I got cinema. First of all, I just want to take a short bit of time to say, in the 90s, I spent 3 years as a board member on the Whatcom Mental Health Board. And as such, I witnessed boards' actions being very compliant to their mandated populations. And I'd just like to say that seniors, aging people, are a mandated population that sometimes they have to plan for their disability. And there are many of us that think about riding the bus more, but because one thing or another, but I get great joy just watching the bus go by. It gives me a sense of independence that I'm losing, but at least I can see what might be. And I guess that's it. So please consider us.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, it goes to the other way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is no, wait a minute. That's a no. Jennifer Johnson? That's you, okay.
I live at the Willows and I still drive my car, but I'm moving towards not doing that anymore and learning how to make use of the public transportation that has been so accessible at the Willows. And I've been asked to share a short letter from a friend at the Willows, 90 years old, Betty McInturf. And she wrote a brief letter. For your information, UMTA, Urban Mass Transportation Association, and Department of Transportation classify age 75 as frail elderly. This would cover almost everybody living here. Evidently, we frail elderly would have the dickens of a time walking to the new bus location for pickup, particularly in poor weather. Please share this information. Betty McIntyre.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Next is, wait a minute here. So, some say yes and some say no, that they don't want to speak. So the next one is Pat Clothier.
That's me. Do I need a sticker?
Yeah.
Just like this, is that close enough? Okay, thank you. Thank you for having us today. I also have been a board member, school board member in the past. I know what a job it is to take care of all of us. At the Willows, our journey to, our of us at the Willows, our journey is to old age. And we don't like it very much, but we're stuck with it, right? So there it is. What makes the Willows so special is the respect for all the different stages of limitation we go through. Loss of driving is a real hit. We are in denial. We want and need to still feel in charge. We want to appear capable. Having the city bus readily available gives us the appearance of a capable, responsible adult. Our dignity is secure. We see the need for paratransit and when we get old, just not now. Please don't take away the steps of independence. Paratransit is a wonderful service for the single destination and a timed return. But the obstacles are, one must reserve the day before. Number two, that's limited to a single destination and return to the point of origin only. Travel with only one other helper friend, and up to a 45-minute wait for a pickup. And what about employees? They have a longer walk to the new distant bus stop. All perfectly reasonable requires for physical limitations or time for handicapping obstacles. The proposed 1/3 of a mile to catch the bus takes me 15 or 20 minutes on a good day. I try, but I don't always have a good day. And the turnaround and walk back is exhausting. Standard time creates another obstacle. One way or the other, we're going to be walking that 1/3 of a mile in the shadows and dark. Hearing and vision challenges have another serious barrier to walking that 1/3 of a mile. We appear to be doing just fine, but we have to rely on car drivers to watch out or listen out for us because we're not able. I am a regular bus driver. I don't know how they came up with the conclusion that I only ride the bus once every couple of days, because there's almost everybody here will verify the fact that Clothier is off on some bus thing. And I appreciate the service that you offer us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Pat. Is Sally Heilman here?
That's me.
There was a question mark by your name. Do you
Yeah,
wish to speak?
I'm here on behalf of my sister and all the other people that live
Okay.
at the Willows.
Okay.
And just you've heard from many already how important that route is. Just the access and the adjustment of the pickup spot it's a big obstacle. And they've all said how important riding the bus is for them, for their lives. And I'm just here to attest to that fact and hope that you can somehow or other keep it as it is.
Okay.
None of us like change.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You gotta deal with it anyway. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Christine Rees.
Right here.
Okay.
Again, thank you for allowing the public comment and actually arranging for the paratransit. I wanted to comment.
I can hold it for you.
No.
I can hear you online, so. Thank you.
So anyway, I wanted to comment on 2 or 3 of the different changes you have proposed. I'm going to elaborate on the changing of the stops on Levin Lane. I have 2 different doctor offices that I access. One of them at the stop at the Marble Building, and then I have to walk up the street to get to the sports medicine clinic for the Family Care Network. And then I also take the bus, same bus number 4, and go up to the Willows, get off, and then walk the trail to go down to the oncology portion of the hospital. So having this stop moved, and I have a cane, so that's a big inconvenience to try to have to do that. And if I have an appointment and the roads are a little, you know, dicey, the sidewalks are going to be even worse because of the leaves that come down, on the city streets and sidewalks, and they're not cleaned. And so anyway, continue please to have the stop that go to the Willows. That's really important. And then on route number 3, I really appreciate the fact that you're going to add a Sunday service, because I like to go up to Costco, and that makes that really convenient. But I'm concerned that if you're going to take away the stop for route number 4 that goes up that way, I don't know so much about additional changes that will still have service on that frontage road twice an hour at least. So I want to ensure that that service in that area is not restricted to just once an hour. I'd like it to be like a lot more, but anyway. And then the other one that I wanted to mention, or 2 more, Route 4748, you have at this particular time, that the route that goes down to the waterfront, it only goes in the morning and stops at like 9:45 and then doesn't pick up again until 3. So that completely eliminates the lunch hour if you want to go take the bus and go to any of the restaurants. So I understand.
May I correct you on that? It's 46 and 47.
46, 47. Okay, I stand corrected. And at any rate, having you guys change the route to have it be all day, and then weekday, Saturday, and Sunday is wonderful. So I really appreciate that. And then on my starting point is on route number 29. And then it used to go straight to Linden, and then it was changed from the 29, and then it goes into the 15 to go to downtown Bellingham. But there's a 45-minute wait before the next bus goes to Linden. So I'd like to see that Linden service at least twice an hour, or coordinate some of the times with the 26, so the buses get there and the 26 is still available to take without having to wait 45 minutes to catch it. And the last one is on this route number 48. I would really appreciate Sunday service, especially if it can stop in front or nearby the Covenant Church to attend church. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Wayne Diaz here?
Yeah.
Did you wish to speak? Your mark wasn't very.
I'm here for the 75 to Birch Bay Village. I think that my main thing is I need to be at a certain place at a certain time. I'm eligible for the Parabus, but they say the Parabus doesn't run except to follow the times of the regular bus. So I don't know what's the answer for me. My main thing is I need to be in to the food bank at Ferndale, because I work there on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Saturday one, the bus is impossible. I have to find a ride on Saturday morning. But eliminating the Birch Bay Village one would really hurt me, especially if the Parabus keeps on, not being able to get to and from Birch Bay Village.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me mark that one off. Next is Molly Hess.
I'm reading one more time on behalf of a resident that could not be here this morning. To the WTA board members, hello, I am a resident of the Willows Retirement Community. I'm writing to ask you to not remove the bus stop from its current spot right outside of the door at the Willows. The new bus stop that you are proposing is almost 1/3 of a mile away. That would make it more difficult, if not completely impossible to use for most residents, especially if it is wet, cold, or hot, snowy, icy, or windy weather, or when it's dark outside on winter mornings, or any time of the year if we are carrying groceries and other items. We are elderly residents, and though vibrant, many of us at the Willows have limitations in mobility, strength, sight, balance, etc. The resident bus riders are mostly those who have given up driving, but are still able to experience some independence and freedom of movement if they have the opportunity. Several of those regular bus riders have some physical limitations. If the bus stop is removed, they would likely have to shift to your WTA paratransit service, which, though it is remarkably helpful when needed, is much more limited and restrictive service as compared to the freedom of taking city bus for outings. Allow me to stress this point. Most of us reach a certain age in our lives when we begin to lose our abilities and must give up our independence bit by bit. It is a very frustrating and difficult process. Anything that helps us to experience our independence, freedoms, and the ability that we do still have is uplifting, healing, and empowering. Taking these opportunities away from us robs us of our dignity, forcing us into a position of dependency earlier than necessary, aging us needlessly. I still drive, but I don't drive on icy or snowy roads. I have appointments and errands that I need to get to. I certainly wouldn't want to walk 1/3 of a mile to a bus stop and then back again on slippery sidewalks. Who needs a risk of a fall? And yes, when I get there, I walk when I get there, but my destination points are mostly within half a block of a bus stop. I sincerely hope that you can find a way to keep the bus stop at the Willows. Please do not take away this convenient service and any independence of our resident riders. We do not need to feel limited or older any sooner than necessary. We can enjoy taking the city bus if you let us. Thank you for your consideration. Karen Irving, a Willows resident.
Thank you. Next is Leslie Keller.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Leslie Keller. I am the manager of the Willows Retirement Apartments. I'm here to speak out against WTA's proposed removal of all bus stops east of Ellis Street on the Peace Health St. Joseph campus. When the Willows opened in 1985, WTA approached us about adding a bus stop in front of our community. We immediately agreed, recognizing the importance for our residents to be able to access public transit and maintain their independence. For almost 40 years, our residents and staff have been using this bus stop. I believe that the purpose of public transit is to provide transportation for those people who do not drive, whether by choice, age, or ability. It is our responsibility to maintain that accessibility for our seniors. We serve a community of 142 of the most independent seniors, many of whom have given up driving and are now learning the freedom of our public transit that our public transit system offers. If this decision goes through, the next closest stop for our residents is 1/3 of a mile away, enough to discourage ridership for many and make it impossible in inclement weather. In addition to the Willows community of residents and employees, we also sit adjacent to the Peace Health Cancer Center and Medical Office Plaza. Our bus stop at the Willows is the closest stop for patients and employees of both these locations. It is also the only stop with a bench. This bus stop is serving many people in our greater Bellingham community. There must be room for compromise as WTA presents their proposals for route changes. I understand that one goal is to have more frequent service from downtown to the hospital. I think this is an excellent goal, and I can see that this is meant to be a quick route and there would not be time to include the stops east of Ellis Street. However, I would like to request that the board consider including these stops on the proposed Route 18 that is to be added from the Cordata station to the hospital. This is a 1-hour route, and I know there must be an extra 2 to 3 minutes available to add the loop through the Willows. I am here today to not only stand up for our residents, but also the patients and employees of our surrounding offices. I was disappointed when I visited some of our neighbors this week to discuss this issue, and was met by complete surprise that the proposed route changes would result in the removal of our loop of bus stops. The Peace Health campus has grown exponentially over the past many years, and the responsibility to continue to provide public transportation options to not just the hospital, but the many offices that sit on the hospital campus is on your shoulders. We should not be asking a person who is unwell and unable to afford a taxi to walk up to half a mile to get to their medical appointment. We have brought with us today a petition signed by over 100 of our residents and staff requesting that our stop at the Willows remain part of the WTA public transit system. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the list is Leslie Keller.
I'm not an adult. Thank you. I think I was heard.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to check your name on. I checked off Molly's name. Okay, sorry. David Blair?
I'm not here to speak to this issue, it's the next hearing, I believe.
Okay. And then Joseph Estep?
Right behind you.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'm an advocate for all the residents for the Willows and the hospital. Excuse my voice. And also for the residents that are around Whatcom County. I don't believe that we should have any of these routes dispute with the routes or changes or the routes we're discussing with the removal. But the thing I'm concerned about is all the elderly that live at the Willows and all the retirement homes in Whatcom County. We need to have special ramps and also shelters for these elderly people to sit at. So out of the rain, out of the snow, out of the wind. And you guys put in more shelters that don't require that. But I'm concerned about is the elderly that are going out in their wheelchairs, have their canes and walkers. The thing is, we need to have more shelters for any of the stops that we got. And also for the Willows, we need to have a shelter there so they can sit while they're waiting for the public transit or paratransit. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joseph. Next on the list is Russ Sapienza.
Right here.
Okay. Did I pronounce your name?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Stock just went up in my book.
Oh.
Okay. Hi, my name is Russ Sapienza, and I lived in Bellingham beginning in 1997. Since then, I've been using WTA as my main source of transportation, and I find it to be so well run and so well, how should I put this? You do such an awesome job with it. And what I would certainly agree with keeping the bus stops at the Willows. And also, I think you ought to increase the bus routes for the Hannigan district, because with the population that's starting to grow, I'm sure more people would like to use the bus from Hannigan. And also, as far as the, what is that? The 46 and 47 routes to the, to the harbor and to the granary, you should add some more times on the schedule. And I especially agree with keeping, or if anything, adding new bus stops in that area along the hospital and along the Squalicum Parkway area. Again, it's an opportunity because you have an increasing population. What you have right now need to have more instead of less. So that's just something I'd say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the list for, oh.
There's one more.
Okay. I didn't see your name on it.
Yeah, I put a question mark. I think my voice is loud, so.
Okay.
Okay, so Lola Van Kirk, I'm at the very bottom. I came in last.
Oh, there it is. Yes. Question mark.
Okay, so I guess I do want to thank you because I do take the bus. I do drive, but I take the bus as much as I can because it saves me money. But I live in the Cordata area, or actually off of Kellogg. And I'm glad you're putting a bus that goes up Kellogg because I have not seen one. The problem is where I live on the other side of the guide. And I can tell you crossing that guide is scary. I mean, there's been a couple of times I've had to yell at a person or step back because they do this right turn, you know, and they don't look for you. So what I would really like is to see a bus stop like I live at Anchor, and I don't know the place next to me, but we're all senior citizens. And if there could be a bus stop before them, because otherwise we have to walk up a hill where the church is at, and there's no sidewalk. So if you can consider that. And also about Birch Bay, I have family that live in Birch Bay. I'd love to take the bus out there, except I have to be there for like 3-some hours to get back into Bellingham. So it would be really convenient if we had more buses, you know, going through. And I understand there's not a big, you know, support on people taking the bus that often, but it would really be nice. Again, I'm like everybody else here. I'm getting older, you know, and I'm not going to be driving that much longer, but I don't want my life to end. You know, I have family. I have some vigor in me. So I would like to get out and go. Okay.
Okay. Is there anyone else here that would like to comment? That I may have missed. None. I will turn it back over to you, Holly.
All right, thanks, Skip. Any board discussion, questions, concerns? All right.
I have one.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm curious to hear staff's perspective about the data that shows there's a border for every 1 in 40 stops versus some of the public comment we've heard, and if we could seek to better understand if that 1 in 40 number is accurate, or just do a little bit more unpacking about that.
Sure, we'd be happy to answer that question. Is there time for that? Okay. Mayor Lund, we have been tracking the boardings for quite some time with the Route 4, given its low ridership, probably for the last 5-6 years. The source of information that we use is through the fare box transactions. And so as each person boards, when they're paying their fare, that boarding gets counted. And so every time we have somebody boarding, that gets counted. And so that is throughout the entire system. And so when we track it, we look from the beginning of the year to the present to find out how many people are boarding, right, for each of the stops. And we feel that it's very accurate for the most part. And so that's our source of information. It's actual transactions. It's not a survey. It's not, you know, asking people. It's actually what is happening on the bus itself. And so our numbers are sourced from that information. we feel it's very accurate. And again, it was I think we had one boarding every 2 days approximately. And then the trips are based upon the number of times the buses will go by the Willows. And so of all those trips, I believe it was 24 a day. We've had one person boarding for every 40 of those trips, so every other day. Does that explain?
Yes, thank you for that.
Michael?
Just a moment.
Yeah,
Ally?
I also am trying to process the testimony we received, but I want to talk about the route which wasn't talked about, which is the Route 50, I believe it is, the one that comes from the Lummi Peninsula. It seems like there's kind of 50-50 feedback. Half of the people who took note going to Cordata and half were frustrated because they want to go downtown. What data do we have on how many people ride all the way to the station now? Can we have any estimate of the number of people who, when they come from Lummi, actually do want to go downtown, as opposed to Cordata, where they might need to transfer to head downtown?
Yeah, I'll start, and I might have to ask Becky for for that detail, or Mary. But many of the travelers on the Route 50 again will go downtown. Many will also stop at the Birchwood Center. That's been a major destination of travelers on that particular route. What we learned, we did quite a bit of outreach on this particular route to assess the needs of the community. And so the first thing we did a couple of years ago is we did a survey of every individual over the course of several days. We found it was about a 50-50 split. A few more were going downtown, wanted to go downtown, but the preference was fairly split. We also heard from the Lummi Nation folks that one of the major destinations for community members was to get to Winco, shopping at Winco. So they asked if WTA could provide service to Winco from the nation itself. So that was a factor. We also met with Lummi Transit. We had 2 tabling events on the Lummi Nation itself, and we learned that there was great support for the Cordata option. With that being said, we did hear that split, and so one thing we assessed was what's the impact for folks who wanted to get to downtown, and we find it's about a 10-minute extra travel time to get downtown. So what would be required is to come into Cordata. There's a 5-minute wait on the Route 50 to get to the Route 32, our frequent route, and then it's a 20-minute trip to get downtown. It adds about 10 minutes to that trip. One of the benefits is it provides a lot more options for destinations. Not only could you get to Cordata destinations, but you can get to various places within the community from the Cordata station. But we do recognize that there are a number of people who still want to get downtown.
It really allowed for increased frequency, so more options. You may have a 10-minute longer wait, but you have more times that you could go to or from Lummi Nation. So that was the trade-off.
Can't you do a 1-seat ride to get to downtown?
You can do a 1-seat. Today is the same bus. In the future, it's a 1-seat ride to the hospital. So that route, the Route 50, is interlined with the Route 18. That's the northern segment of the hospital route. So you can get to Birchwood Center. You can get to the hospital on that same bus. You don't have to transfer on that bus, but it won't get you directly downtown.
If I may, this is on for discussion on the 21st. Today was the public hearing, so there's more opportunity. So if you have questions, let us know too, and we can be ready to answer those on the 21st.
All right. For sake of time, I think we should probably move to the next item. Thank you, everyone. Next item C2, public hearing on the 2025 budget and board discussion. Shonda, anybody else excited about 2117? Anybody?
Ellie, for the record, are we closing the public hearing then for the?
So sorry. Yes. Closing the public hearing at, let's see, 8:45 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
All right.
Remote
thank
is
you.
weird.
Can you hear me okay online?
Yep.
Oh, so this is a follow-up and opening the public hearing for the meeting we had in October with the board, where we did a lot of detailed discussion and information on the 2025 draft budget. So I'll go ahead and kind of move through those things. Rather quickly, we talked about the intent of our budget outcomes, how we run all of our ideas through the mission statement. And we use a number of different lenses to talk through our proposals to determine what goes into the budget. Sorry, my fingers aren't working very well today. We talked about our budget outcomes, a number of the things that we talked about today also. And then we developed 6 themes, again, that we run our ideas through before they go into the budget. What we also talked about was that we're proposing to invest $16 million in 2025 for new service on the street, a lot of what Tim had talked about, to continue to support our employees with wages, our benefit increases, and a number of capital projects to continue to invest in the infrastructure. Most of that money will come from reserves that we've built up over the years with conservative budgeting and coming in under budget, but also a number of those dollars are from the COVID relief funds that we received through the pandemic. And we're operating under board direction to spend down our reserves and get more service and information out on the street for our riders. So really quickly, this is what our revenues look like. You can see there's a large decrease in our sales tax, a small increase in our sales tax income. We are running below budget this year, so we have a conservative number there. And then that line, the operating grants, this is primarily made up of the Climate Commitment Action Funds. So that initiative did fail, so WTA will retain those dollars. But we pulled a lot of money in 2024 of those dollars because we weren't sure about the initiative. So you see that $6 million in operating grant difference. So we're looking at about $47.8 million in revenues. And then our operating expenses continue to outpace our revenues. You can see our operating expenses are $55 million. That is running service we have now, including the new service we talked about, and kind of our daily operations. That's about a $7 million investment of income. And then we have our capital projects, which is another almost $9 million. That's bus replacements, bus expansions, potentially procuring property to move our downtown base. So we have that $16 million investment. Quickly, this is just a pie chart of how our revenue and expenses break down. We're asking for 10 new positions in the budget. 9 of them support the new service that Tim went through, and 1 is a project manager to help us drive some of these larger projects forward into the future. We have a list of capital projects that we're rolling over from 2024. We've had about a 93% execution rate this year on our capital projects. So we have a small number of things moving over, and a lot of them have already begun or are committed dollars from grant funds. And then next year, these are our investments. You can see property, vehicles, improving ADA access bus stops throughout the county and the city. And then we're looking at our cash and reserve projections. So the red line is expenses and the blue line is revenue. And we can see we have a gap there. We've developed a couple of teams to help look at both of those line items and try and close that gap by either increasing revenues or reducing expenses. And then the blue section below is what our reserve balances would look like, or our target reserve balances. And then this is our reserve and cash projections. So we talked a lot last week or last month about how there's many things in our capital projects that consume a lot of cash that we have the ability to change. So we have about $50 million over the next 3 years in zero emission transition infrastructure, building a paint booth, doing a connection to our north lot. And as an agency and with our board, we can delay those, we can eliminate them, we can rethink them. So there's a lot of ability to move this red line up and down depending on what the board chooses to do and what WTA chooses to do. So this would be if we did everything we had planned out in our 6-year plan. We recognize that that's not feasible. We would run out of money.
But that is our 6-year plan as it stands. So we're going to be looking at what projects and what knobs do we turn to move that line along. Our next steps is this will come back for approval to the board on November 21st. So that's my presentation. If we'd like to, if there's anyone here for comment.
But I think Ally needs to open. The
Oh,
public
sorry.
hearing.
Thank you.
All right, we will open the public hearing at 8:50 a.m. And yes, anyone who would like to speak, let's start online. Anybody who would like to speak, unmute?
I'd be interested in making a couple of comments. This is Ken Marzocco.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess, I've been following WTA's finances for a while. I've had a number of meetings with WTA representatives, and I guess I'm disappointed. It just seems that the downward financial spiral continues. If you look at revenue in the last few years or decades, it's basically ridership and revenue has been almost flat as far as revenue that comes in, but expenses continue just to skyrocket. And if you look at 2023 actual versus what you're budgeting for 2025, operating expenses are budgeted to go up by 35% over that time frame. And if you look at your biggest cost is staff, you're now proposing to add 10 more people. If you calculate the minutes of people on the bus versus minutes of employees, it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio. You could have somebody dedicated just to moving that one person if you look at it that way. And I think when you go through the budget, there just seems to be a lot of fat items in there. Your outside services are going up 75% this year. Fuel prices are going up 35%. Expenses are going up 35%, despite the fact that fuel prices are down and you converted to electric, which is supposed to be cost savings for fuel. Utilities are up 31%, and you're budgeting to spend an increase of 40% for education and travel. And just for this 1 year, your operating expenses are up 18%. And I understand you're going to look at ways to cut costs or improve your finances, but I think you need to halt spending increases until you do go through that act, because as we've seen in a lot of other taxpayer supported entities, everybody just continues to kick the can down the road. And that's why we have a $2 trillion federal deficit and financial strain throughout the system. And the further you kick the can down the road, the bigger the changes you need to make later. And there's some things you should consider, like if you can't turn a big bus around in Birch Bay Village, why do you run a big bus there? Because there's, from what I've heard from residents, there's hardly more than 2 people that ever get off the bus. And look to downsize your fleet. It saves you money on the driver qualifications. And maybe something like the Willows, if there's really that much demand, maybe you should lend them a rideshare bus. They can hire a driver and do it far cheaper than you can provide, because everybody that gets on a bus, it costs $11 just in operating expenses, and that does not include any depreciation on your vehicles. It probably costs at least $15 a ride for somebody to go 3 miles. It doesn't. There's got to be some far cheaper ways of doing it. So that's my point. I guess I just continue to believe that there's financial house has to get in order. Yep.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone else online that would like to unmute and speak to the board, please go ahead. Anyone in person?
David Blair.
I guess I want to concur with much of what Ken Marzocco said. And in looking at your budget and looking at the first several pages of mission and strategic objectives, it's hard for me to conceive how you can do a good job with all of those items and live within your budget. And your budget's a testimony that you can't, because you're overspending your revenue. And it seems to me you need to figure out a much more focused and defined mission and strategic initiatives to accomplish that mission so that you can do that well, as opposed to doing a lot of things not very well. And I don't think your current path is sustainable. And I mean, it's obviously not sustainable at your expenses. Part of what's driving those expenses is the lack of focus on what your mission is. And if you don't do that, you'll be coming back to the voters for some other revenue source, is what you're going to do. And when you are a voter in the community and you see the large buses driving around with nobody on them, which is most of the time, not all the time, and there's certainly certain runs where that's not the case, but it's a billboard advertising to the voter how poor of a steward of their money you are being. So that's my comment.
Are there any other speakers that wish here in the room? Okay. She was first.
I'm Birgit Schroeder, and I have a question. Do you still offer the smart trips? That was a wonderful thing for me to take those trips. You learned about destinations you could go to, how to transfer between buses without having to go to the station. If that was offered to the Willows community, I think you could increase your ridership a lot there. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally,
This is a concern for me on that. The budget deficit for the ridership and also for the buses, that is not a concern for that. But the thing is, we pay more in taxes for these buses, where that we have to rely on special transit just to take us to anywhere that we have to go without having a big bus go to it. If we have these big buses that we paid for that do special trips, why can't we have those big buses that have special trips for the seniors and basically have them go to the mall or to Costco or to Fred Meyer or to Hagen's just to do their shopping? But the thing is, we pay more in taxes. In order for us to do that, we got to increase the ridership, yes, but we got to rely on revenue for the bus passes that we get and the machines that we have for the special other passes, for the UMO passes. We pay more in that than anything else to basically have a good ridership for that. Thank you.
Yes, Russ Sapienza here. You mentioned smart trips as being a major factor in bus ridership. I've been a part of smart trips since 2004. And incidentally, it's still very much around. The problem is that far too many people still don't know what smart trips is. And I think what's really needed is more outreach to just about any, I would say almost any community, but especially with regards to seniors and to people who are disabled. I mean, to these populations, bus service, WTA service is really important. And I think we should encourage people outside those communities to be a part of smart trips.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, one more.
Oh, one more. I get to hold this?
Yes, for
Okay.
just a few minutes.
I also get to stand because, well, I taught for a few years and, I like to be able to get eye contact, things like that. And I remember when WTA or whatever it is they were called came to Birch Bay. And I went to the meeting. In fact, I voted against it. I'll tell you why. Because my observation was Birch Bay needed to be a city, and every time you plug in something that helps it function, it distracts from being a city. So I voted against it. And I went to the first meeting. I'm a business owner. I said, you're gonna tax us. We want some service out of you. And I thought, oh, business owner. Yeah, Birch Bay, a recreational area, we'll set up a couple cute little streetcar buses. And they were cute. They came to Birch Bay and all around. One was called Stella. And it was a joke. I'd get out from my business and say, hey, Stella, Stella. Well, you didn't quite perceive what people who need to take a bus. It's the everyday person. Maybe they don't have a car. Maybe they're disabled. They need to get around and they need to be able to get to things. And many times you're doing that well, and I like that. I do tell people that when they are older and they're buying a house or condo, do buy near a bus route. Because I think the buses are really, really important. I hope that my friend over there can take the bus out of Birch Bay Village. We need to get something working out for them. I could talk more. Afterwards, I'll have questions, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other public comment over there?
I'm gonna turn this back over to the chair. Yeah, that's what I figured.
All right, thank you.
So-
Then we're gonna end the public hearing at 9:03. And Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have, I guess I'm worried about the budget because as we talked a little bit about last time, the sustainability, particularly on page 9, when our expenses are clearly over our income on the outgoing years. I get what really worries me is on page 7, salaries and benefits add up to 40 million. And if we do a 6% increase on that 40 million, which is kind of growth that's 2.4 million a year. That's new money we have to have every year to keep this thing going. And our sales tax is 40 million, and we're suggesting sales tax is going to be flat or maybe 2-3%. So we have a sustainability problem over the long haul. We can't keep, we can spend our money on one-time expenses, that we can do, but if we spend it on personnel and people, we are in big trouble because that's a reoccurring expense. It likely doesn't go away, and we're going to run out of money sooner than later. So that part worries me about the sustainability. And I know we talked a little bit about, well, in the outgoing years, we'll start to cut projects or cut things like that. Projects, not people. And it's the people part of this thing that costs the real money. So that's why I'm worried. I had to get in my 2 cents today. Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Mayor Lund, did you have something?
Yeah, I'll just kind of second what Mayor Cortés just said. I have to leave. I have a conflict at 9 o'clock here, but I would appreciate if this can be the first agenda item before the board so we have adequate time for continued discussion at our next meeting.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, it is 9:05, just being aware of the time. Anything else that needs to be said today? Otherwise, we'll move on and all right.
Do you want to close the budget hearing for the record? Or
Oh,
did you?
I did before
Okay.
I let
I'm sorry.
board members speak.
Thank you, sorry.
No problem. All right, let's see. Next is item E, consent agenda.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions, concerns, comments about the consent agenda? All in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you very much. Let's see. I think that we have run out of time for board reports, but
Yes.
we'll get to that, yeah. Any other business or announcements that need to be said today, shared today? All right, we are adjourned. Good job, everyone. I appreciate you all. Sorry I was remote. It was kind of wonky, but thanks for your help, Skip, and everyone else.